Hello everyone, this is Ralphie and welcome to my channel. It's a Friday night and I've just come back from work. I thought I'd do something a bit different in this video, and I want to just have my say in regards to what's happening around the world and sort of my insights and thoughts into that. Obviously I live in New Zealand, so New Zealand is in a very unique position compared to the rest of the world in regards to recent events with COVID. Geographically, we're an island that's very far away from everything else. So New Zealand is one of those countries that either gets in first or gets the message last, kind of thing. So a lot of companies use New Zealand as a base to test out their systems before they roll it out in bigger markets, such as IT rollouts and things like that. Also mobile devices and networks like that, they'll test that out in New Zealand first because it's a small enough pool, and if it's successful they'll branch it out to other bigger markets. So we're either first, or in this case we're last in terms of our reactions to COVID, which puts us in a very unique position compared to the rest of the world. So I can only really say things based on my perceptions being based in New Zealand. So I'm not really sure what it's like out there with the rest of the world, how severe the COVID thing is, because I don't really want to add too much. I've been sort of purposefully not saying much on my socials and things like that with regards to COVID, because I didn't really want to add to the fuel as such. I didn't want to add to any hysteria or things like that, because I don't think that's very productive in a sense. So I've purposely been holding back on sort of my opinions on it, but because when you're on the internet, obviously the things that you see on your algorithms are very different to mine. So everyone's kind of got their own echo chambers in terms of what opinions are being fed to them based on their recent searches and based on their own opinions. So it's very much in a way it's unproductive in terms of, like, your opinions are going to differ very much to mine because of those echo chambers. So I mean, if you're on the internet, there's two severes to the spectrum. There are those that are calling the COVID the pandemic and that everything is hyped in terms of numbers and things like that. And then the other scale of the spectrum is the official narrative by our governments, the World Health Organization, WHO, and, well, really, you could be in the middle. Like, for example, I guess I'm in the middle. I don't really know or can confirm what's happening in the world, but at the same time, I'd like to share some of my experiences as to why I'm always suspicious. You see, 2013 was a really interesting year for me. 2013, I got to go to the UK, and one of my jobs, the UK as I got a working visa there. One of my jobs while I was in London was to be a waiter. So 2013 was an interesting year because I worked for an agency, and you know that saying, if walls could talk? I actually have a lot of interesting things happen to me that year. With my waitering agency, what happens is they tend to hire Kiwis and Australians and other people from around the world that are visiting, because we were cheap, and also I guess with our accent we were told that the British liked our accent because it seemed very trustworthy. I had this feedback as well because one of the other jobs I had was to actually get donations from people. You know how you ring the hotlines and donate $1 a month to this charity, and things like that. I did that job as well, and that's a different video. If you want to, I have some stories about that. But I guess I'm going back to my some of the interesting events I did as a waiter. So with this agency, I got started with just doing, I would say, what you'd call normal events, such as corporate events and things like that. But what was really interesting is, so I worked for this agency for about 1.5 years, and what was really interesting is the more reliable you became, you were on time, you were always professional, the more up the ladder you were in terms of being referred to more prestigious events. So I started off in the sort of the corporate rung, and from there I started doing things like private events for banks, and from there I started doing private events for like celebrities. So, for example, I was at an event and I got to share a urinal with Ewan McGregor. I didn't say hi to him because one of the protocols of working for this agency is that you don't approach the talent. You're there to do a service. So I didn't say hi to Ewan McGregor, but I got to do a lot of the Hollywood parties, and there was the paparazzi and things like that. That's another video as well if you're interested in my stories and that. So I got to do that, and then the next rung, I guess, was I got to do banquets for charity events. For example, in 2013, I did some of the Bill and Hillary Clinton events, some of the Rothschild events and things like that, and I heard a lot of things. So before I go into my opinion on my thoughts on the current events, I do want to read out one of the things I heard at a charity event in 2013. So this charity event was, I guess, filled with bankers and things like that. The reason why banks like charity events is they can write it off and basically get goods and services, things like holidays and things like that. They can write off the tax and things like that. So that's what I noticed about these charities. Of course, it was going towards a good cause for of some sort. For example, this event I'm about to talk about, it was a chicken shed charity. So the chicken shed charity was basically it was raising £400,000 that night, and it was to do with changing young lives through the theatre. But some of the scenes for this particular event I did, they had some sort of hidden rituals and messages, which I found really interesting. So I want to read you this monologue that was in one of the scenes. It was like a hidden message, but the monologue from one of the actors in this play that they were doing to raise money for charity, they had this sayings, and it was this was it. To prepare a nation for war, you must first instill in everyday life hatred, anger, fear, racism, and divide. That alone has stuck with me ever since, because I see recent events like news and things like that through different eyes based on what I heard that night. So that was in 2013. We're in 2020 now, 7 years later, and all these things are happening. So the reason why I guess I've been holding back on my own opinions is I realize that there are two topics in life that will divide a room very quickly, and that is politics and religion. So those two topics I kind of don't really want to delve too much into, because then you start to get people presuming things about you, and you get the trolls coming out, and nobody likes internet trolls. So I've been holding back on my opinions, but I decided, since all these things are happening recently, that to kind of just have more of a say in my own thoughts, and really just to start a conversation. That's all I'm trying to. There's no, I guess, there's no agenda from my end. I don't want to force any of my opinions to you. I respect that everyone has their own opinions. But yeah, I just want to start a conversation. So these are my thoughts on the whole COVID thing and saying all this. First of all, before I share my thoughts on it, please let me know. Start this conversation. Place some comments below. See if you like this kind of thing, because recently I've just been posting sort of fun videos on YouTube, like reviews, game reviews, music, gear stuff, and so I don't really delve into this kind of type of video normally, but I thought I'd give it a shot and maybe start a conversation. But what are your thoughts with the whole COVID thing? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you like this sort of video, if you have any questions, because I've revealed a few things about myself that you may or may not know. So do you want me to explore more of what I've said today? Let me know. But I guess my thoughts are, say the whole news thing. So when COVID started, it was a shock to everyone. No one really knew it was coming. To me, in the back of my mind, though, for people that are making decisions around the world, maybe this is a pandemic. Maybe it's been war gamed 10 years in advance. I do have some stories to support that theory, that the fact that events that happen in the world, especially big ones like this, like 9/11, COVID, all that sort of stuff, usually it is war game 20 years in advance, but I've got some stories to support that theory. But I guess I am very careful in terms of what I put into my brain, my input, because say for example, if I watch mainstream media too much, mainstream media is all about tabloids, so it's like grabbing your attention, headlines, boom, world is ending, those sort of headlines. And I like to control the input that I put into my brain. One, for these reasons. One, controlling the controllables. So there's not much I can do as an individual to change the outcomes of what's happening. So the only modes I can really get into by feeding input into my brain is the whole fight or flight. So a lot of the time, because I feel, especially mainstream media, is very based on hysteria, it puts me in a mode of either anger or being scared. It depends on which scale of the 5 stages of trauma you're in, whether you're scared when you hear things, whether you're angry, or in my case, I'm in the final stage, which is acceptance, and so that's another story. But I think that if you're in a state of fear, that you really become sort of, it disables you in your actions. So you become a vegetable and you kind of just stand still and you do nothing about it. So I don't really feel that's productive in my own life, or what say. So that's the first reason why I control my input, is that I don't want to be in that primal state of mind where I'm just reacting on events based on fear. So there's that. And two, I noticed that we as a nation sort of divide ourselves, and this is maybe instinctively, fight or flight, that sort of thing, human nature, wanting to have your say and contradicting your beliefs on another. I don't really find it's productive to be having those, I guess, fights or conversations with other people, because you're sort of two bulls butting heads, and there's no real. Both sides will always have their pre-assumed sort of agendas, and I don't really want to feed into that. So at a dinner table or conversations, I'm the one that sort of just stays silent, listens, because till this video, I've kind of kept my mouth shut. But I guess what changed my mind today is, one, there's some unprecedented events that are happening, historic, never before. So if I don't share my thoughts, it kind of stays with me, because no one can read my mind, obviously. And I realized that there's only one of me, my thoughts. Now, in the past or in the future, there's always just going to be the one snowflake, the one me. So I guess, do I want to leave my thoughts on the world? Yeah, sure. But I guess I also want to offer solutions. So I'm going to conclude this video with maybe my own solutions, how I'd like to see where I'd like to see New Zealand specifically, geographically, because that's where I'm based, where I'd like to see New Zealand go in terms of how they are currently handling this situation. So there's a lot of things happening with the economy at the moment, and I think New Zealand is very blessed, or me being in New Zealand, I'm kind of blessed to worry about the economy more than the actual COVID pandemic itself. I'm worrying about the economy more, and I guess that is a privilege, because New Zealand kind of hit hard with lockdowns very early, so our numbers compared to some other countries are considerably low. So I do realise I have the luxury to realise about the economy more than the pandemic, being based in New Zealand. So I'm going to specifically talk about solutions for New Zealand. Okay, because if you're elsewhere, it's very different. But solutions for New Zealand. One, I think so a lot of employers have implemented work from home strategies, which I think is really good. I got to work from home, especially during lockdown, the early stages of lockdown. And at first, the first week and things, you're like, whoa, what's happening? How do I do this? Lots of calls to IT. But as I progressed, I got the hang of it, right? And I think work from home strategies are really key to the future of New Zealand. I guess protecting our economy, especially from any potential second waves and things like that. So work from home strategies, I think, are key as part of a solution. I'm back in the office now full time, so I'm not working from home, so I don't have that luxury anymore, but I do miss it. But I think it is actually key that more and more companies in New Zealand kind of continue that strategy, especially because there are some flow-on effects that are very interesting to working from home. One is that it tackles our infrastructure in terms of traffic. Now, like anywhere else, Auckland is a highly densified city. It's the biggest city in New Zealand, with 1 million people in Auckland, 4 million in New Zealand, but 1 million in Auckland. So working from home strategies tackles the whole traffic issues. And I think that's really interesting that we continue to explore that, because one, less traffic actually makes a more productive society, because less people are late to work and things like that. Also, it's better for the environment because there are less cars. And also, it harkens back to what New Zealand actually used to do in the 70s. And so it's kind of like we've gone back to the past. But what I'm saying is, like, this is before I was born. I was obviously not born in the 70s, but I learnt about this through speaking with my elders at dinner parties and things like that. I always like to talk to elders because, I like to think, what was it like back in your day? But what I learnt by talking to my elders was, in New Zealand in 1979, I'm going to read something just off my phone just so I can give you a bit of a story, but this is off the website newzealandhistory.govt.nz, so it's kind of one of the first search websites that popped up when I was like, oh, what was that story about carless days? Boom, this website popped up. So one of the first websites that popped up. But I'm not sure if you were in New Zealand in 1979, but back then, and again according to New Zealand history.govt.nz, this is a government website, back then they had implemented these carless day stickers. So it's like a WAF rego sticker that you'd stick on the front of your car, and it would say like Thursday with a registration number or Friday registration number. It was like a pink sticker. You'd put that in your car, and the sticker meant that nobody could drive that vehicle based on the day that was on your sticker. So if it said Thursday, you weren't allowed to drive your car on Thursdays. So I guess back then it was introduced on the 30th of July 1979, and the reason why it was introduced is it was to combat the second oil shock. So basically they were trying to reduce petrol consumption. So there was issues with petrol suppliers back then, 1979. And here we are in 2020, fast forward, and we've got this new idea of working from home based on necessity because of whole COVID. I think it's actually a really good idea. So as part of our future solutions to continue on work from strategies, so it's kind of like history repeating with carless days, but this time round have days, rostered days for every staff member that you would work from home, say 1 or 2 days a week, reduces the infrastructure, the stress in the infrastructure in terms of traffic. So that's one thing that we've learned from COVID that's really interesting, and that's one strategy I'd actually like New Zealand to continue on moving forward, is that whole working from home. Okay, and there's always these pre-made assumptions that, working from home, that just means that people are going to be less productive and it's not that good. Actually, if you have measures in place that can see what your workers are doing, so in our particular environment, we work in a system where everything's time-stamped, so if you send an email, it's time-stamped, all based on this one ecosystem. So, and we do things like there's more visibility, like we install apps in our phone, so it gives the employer visibility that their staff is actually working. So it is actually more productive. It can be more productive, I guess. Now, caution on this, and I have raised this with certain people. I know that some employers are, again, this is all new, but they're forcing staff to, say, install apps that may invade privacy. So there's some apps that ask for your GPS location and internal files, and just be wary of that. If you are being asked, maybe push back a little bit. I mean, the big story at the moment is the whole TikTok app, where the CCP party is perhaps, well, not perhaps, but allegedly tied with the whole TikTok thing. So there's security measures security, privacy concerns with that, installing apps. And we've seen it time and time again where we're basically in a society where their identity theft is real. So just be wary if employers ask you to install apps that may evade your privacy. But so anyways, in conclusion, I'd like that as a solution to continue on as one option. Now, there are other options in terms of that I have in mind for the whole COVID solutions, but I might save those thoughts for a future video. Seeing as though how long this video is starting to be. So I think it's in the half an hour time frame. So I think I might wrap these thoughts up for now. It's a bit of a rant. It's a freestyle rant. I wasn't sure. I didn't prepare much. I didn't prepare anything before filming this, but I thought I'd have a bit of a rant that I guess in summary, I do want to share my own thoughts because my ideas are very unique to me, and I kind of want to not be stuck in my own echo chamber of thoughts. I do want feedback of what other people think of what's happening in the world. Be it whatever spectrum you're in, let me know. I'm not here to judge. I just want to start a conversation, really. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to be posting more and more on YouTube just because I'm having a bit of fun with it. I've got equipment now that gives me permission to do this. Now, YouTube is a hobby for me, so I have absolutely no agendas in terms of what I have to say or things like that to boost my views or anything like that. Nope. I don't mind if only 5 people view this video and see value in it. I have no agendas. YouTube is a hobby, so I really just want to share my thoughts and insights. I have so many stories. There is endless stories, and I think I'm just going to conclude with this for the video, that if you do find some of the things I've mentioned in this video intriguing, I do have a blog that I post every now and then, and I'm going to post a link to that blog. But again, it's just I guess my own stories and what I've experienced in life. 2013 was a big year for me, so if you look back in the 2013 entries on this blog, that's when I was in the UK doing a lot of the waitering events. If walls could talk, as they say, you may hear something interesting. And the thing is, I was a waiter, and a lot of the time all these AAA profile prolific people, they see you as part of the furniture, so they forget you're there. But I was very insightful to listen and have a look to see what was happening in my surroundings. I have so many stories. If you're interested in that kind of thing, 2013 was a big year for me in terms of some of the most interesting things that changed my brain and my insight of the world. If you're interested in that, blog link in the video. And if you're interested to hear more, let me know. Start a conversation in the comments. Again, don't mind if 5 people view this or whatever, but what I would like is if you have seen value in this video, let me know you're actually watching, because give it a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a comment, because at least I know I'm not talking to a wall. I'd like to actually talk to another human being on the other side of this. So thank you very much for watching. My name is Ralphie. I do have music if you're interested. I'm a musician, as you can see in the background. I'm on Spotify and everything, so I'll link that into the description. And yeah, you may see more videos like this, and I hope you will enjoy these kind of videos. So thank you very much for watching. Signing off. Bye.